Hey, I'm Rick Petrie, founder of Ultimate Success Coach and the Impossible is Nothing podcast. And I want to welcome you to the Ultimate Success Coach Success Principles video series. You know, Bob Proctor talks about carrying a copy of this book, Think and Grow Rich with him, every day for over 50 years. And not only does he carry the book with him, but he's read the book over and over and over every day over those 50 years. And Bob says that that book changed his life. In this session, I want to talk to you about a book that changed my life. It's this book, The Success Principles, written by my friend and mentor, Jack Canfield. This book changed my life. It has 67 principles in it that when applied to your life on a consistent basis will help you get from wherever you are to wherever you want to be. You know, we all aspire to be incredible people. You know, people who are exactly the person that they want to be. People that do exactly what they want to do, and people that have exactly what they want to have. But if we're honest with ourselves, most of us would admit that we simply aren't creating the results that we truly want. Instead, we often find ourselves wasting our time and energy complaining that we don't have enough time, or we don't have enough money, we don't have enough romance or success or joy, or the list goes on and on and on. And then to explain why we aren't creating the results that we want, we point fingers in every direction, blaming outside circumstances or things that happen to us, and we justify our outcomes based on those events in the environment in our world. But my friends, here's the real deal. Complaining, blaming, and justifying never produce successful outcomes. All this does is continue to produce the same results that we're complaining about. So instead of complaining about outside events, you know, we're far better off just getting to understand ourselves and why it is that we produce the results that we want. And then once we know that, keeping that on the dashboard of our minds and coupling with that there is greatness that exists in all of us. You know, I believe that our most critical and fundamental goal in life should be to manifest that greatness by allowing it to flow from us, regardless of what's going on around us. And the reality is, it doesn't matter what your current circumstances are. It doesn't matter what the current economic climate is. It doesn't matter who the president is. It doesn't matter whether you start out rich or poor, black or white, really smart or not as smart as you feel like you need to be. Here's the deal. If you learn the keys to success and then commit to consistently applying them in your life, you, my friend, can live the life of your dreams. You see, every one of us has the ability to create the life of our dreams. You see, you're more powerful than you think you are. You're more powerful than maybe anybody else ever told you you were. You simply need to learn the keys to unlock your full potential. It's like my friend Jack says, knowing how to open the door to success is just like knowing the combination to a lock. If you know the combination, the lock has to open. And it doesn't matter who you are. Like I said, it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, black or white, young or old, tall or short, big or skinny. It just doesn't matter. If you consistently apply these success principles in your life, in your career, or in your business, I guarantee you they will open the door to more success and move you from where you are to exactly where you want to be. And if you have any doubts about whether these success principles will truly unlock the life of your dreams, then here's the deal. I challenge you to find any high achiever who does not live by these success principles. It's like one of my favorite movie characters says, "You're a daisy if you do." And I don't think you can. So I'm super excited to be taking this journey with you. So without further ado, let's just dive in and get started. So the first principle we're going to talk about is taking 100% responsibility for your life. Now, do you know that from the moment you're born until you take your last breath, everything you see, everything you say, everything you hear, and everything you experience and are exposed to is all recorded into your subconscious mind? Yeah. And all of that information becomes the programming and the paradigm through which you experience the world. It affects not only the way you see the world, but also how you show up in the world, and it affects the results that you create in the world. The challenge is, according to our friends in the field of neuroscience, about 95% of what we do is based upon the paradigm. Yeah, it's controlled by our subconscious mind. Now, according to another one of my mentors, Dr. Shad Helmstetter, 77% of the paradigm's programming is either false, harmful, or simply interferes with our ability to achieve the things we most want to achieve. Plus, by the time you've turned 18, most people have been told no, what they cannot do, and what will not work more than 177,000 times. Now think about that. No wonder it seems that sometimes it feels like we've been taught more about what we can't do than what we can do. Now, how does that make any sense? And these people that are teaching us this, our parents, maybe our teachers, they were doing the best that they could with what they had, but the reality of it is, by being told no and what you can't do and all these other things, and all of that being stored in our subconscious mind, creating that paradigm, it simply interferes with our ability to do what we were really born to do. That makes it very difficult. So here's what I invite you to think about. If it feels like you've been taught more about what you cannot do than what you can, just know it doesn't have to be that way. One of the greatest gifts you can give yourselves is taking 100% responsibility for all of the outcomes in your life. Everything about you and every outcome that you have is a result of you either doing or not doing certain things. And this is true for your income, your debts, your relationships, your wealth, your level of finance, your attitudes, and your behaviors. That man or that woman or child that you see every morning and every night in the mirror is actually the chief executive officer of your life. And I encourage you to reintroduce yourself to that man or that woman and to fall back in love with yourself. You see, for some, the idea of taking 100% responsibility for your life may at first seem a bit harsh. It may also run contrary to other long-held beliefs that you've had. And I understand why that may seem to be true. But again, I invite you and I challenge you to keep an open mind. You see, I firmly believe in our heart of hearts that everyone truly knows that we're in charge of our own lives, but it's also true that our minds can sometimes play games and play tricks on us. For example, we can trick ourselves into believing that external factors are the source of our failure and the reason for our disappointment and the cause of our unhappiness. But my friends, the harsh truth is, external factors simply do not control how you live your life. You do. While outside events may provide some sort of a good reason to make adjustments along the way, if you're not producing the results that you want, it's you and you alone that is in complete control of the quality of your life. Here's the thing. This means you got to take 100% responsibility for everything, meaning that you have to give up all of your excuses, all of the blaming, all of the justifications. And a good way to start doing that is with a simple little formula that I'm going to share with you. The formula it's super simple, but it's also very profound. So you ready? Here it is. The formula is E plus R equals O. Let's do it again. E plus R equals O. So what does that all mean? The E stands for events. Those are things that happen outside of you, things that you have no control over. The R stands for how you choose to respond to these events. And the O is the outcome. That's the outcome that you now are empowered to create. And here's what generally happens. Check it out. Normally, there's some sort of an outside event that happens, right? Based on the paradigm, instead of choosing to respond, we just react. And we react based on the paradigm. And remember, that paradigm has a bunch of stuff that doesn't help us, right? It's 77% negative stuff. Know what you can't do, and all these other things that get in the way of your ability to achieve your goals, right? So what we want to do instead is we don't want to react from this old paradigm, and instead we want to respond, make a choice. I call it the power of the pause sometimes. Pause, think about it. What's the best way for me to respond to this event so that I can produce the outcome that I really want? You see, if you don't like your outcomes, then you have to change your responses. That's how it's done. If you don't like your outcomes, change your responses. Changing your responses will change the outcomes and the results, and you'll be well on your way. So here's an example. If I've heard that there's going to be a recession. Decide that you're just not going to participate in that recession. You see, everything you experience today is the result of choices that you've made in the past. And likewise, everything that's going to happen in the future will be based on choices that you make then. But if you keep on doing what you've always done, if you keep on operating out of that old paradigm, you'll keep on getting what you've always got. So you've got to give up the blaming. No more blaming. You've got to give up the complaining. No more complaining. That's simply just not going to help you. And you've got to give up justifying. That's not going to help you either. So you either create or allow everything that happens to you is based on you. So pay attention to your results, because your results just don't lie. You move now from being the victim to the victor, from the victim to the victor. So rather than let this key frighten you, just think for a moment about how exciting this can actually be when you get to decide who you become, no matter what's going on in the rest of the world. You and you alone get to decide and control what you do. You get to control what you have, and you get to control what you get to enjoy. And no one and nothing outside of you gets to control any of that. So you can indeed begin living this life that you've been dreaming about. You see, those who consistently struggle throughout life, they concede their power to champion the life of their dreams to outside people and to outside events. I know I've done it in the past, and when I realized that I could take 100% control of my life and the way I choose to respond to anything that happens on the outside, man, it was like the weight of the world had been lifted off me. And I think that you may find the same thing happens to you. You see, because successful people take full responsibility for the thoughts they think, the images they visualize and hold in their mind, and the actions that they take. In other words, they take 100% responsibility for the person they become, the things they get to do, and the things they get to have. Period. They don't waste their time and energy blaming and complaining, because they understand that blaming and complaining will get them absolutely where? Nowhere. And get them what? Exactly nothing. So instead of wasting their time and energy blaming, complaining, making excuses and justifying, or saying things like, I can't do this thing that I really want to do because I have kids, or if it wasn't for the bad economy, I would start my business that I've been dreaming about, but I can't start it because we got a president that I don't care for. All these other things. They just ignore all that other stuff, make adjustments, take 100% responsibility for their life, and they consistently and mindfully evaluate their experiences, and they decide if along the way they need to make adjustments. It's really pretty simple. See, I talk to people a lot of times, and we talk about purpose, and I hear people say a lot of times, you know, Rick, this purpose thing, I'm not sure what my purpose in life is. And I understand that sometimes that can feel so big and maybe become a little bit scary, because a lot of times people say, well, what if I choose the wrong purpose? And then, you know, I get to the end of my life and I realize I've lived my whole life wrong. For now, I would invite you to just pick a purpose. And for some people, I think they realize a purpose that they want to live their life on very early on, and they live their entire life on this one purpose. Other people may find that they have several purposes. They may have a purpose at one point in life, and then it changes to something else. For example, maybe one time in your life it feels like your purpose is to raise your children. And then once they get grown and move out of the house, you realize, oh, there's another thing that I want to dedicate my life to. So at least for now, though, just pick some purpose. Because once you have a purpose and once you have some goals, now you can start living on purpose, and you can see whether you're moving closer to your goals and living on purpose or further away. And when you do that, you can start to face these uncomfortable situations head on, and you can take more risk in order to create the life that you truly want to live. You see, the key for life is for you to do you. It's so easy for us to get caught up in trying to live the life that someone else tells us that we should live. You know, you got to go to school, you got to do this, you got to do that, and you got to have this job. Well, maybe that's not you. So the key is to be real with yourself. And one way to start doing that is to start taking a look at the areas in your life where, if you're honest with yourself, you realize, I'm not taking 100% responsibility for my life. And here's the exercise, because see, I could sit here, I could talk, and I could teach all day long, but if that's all there was to it, and there was no follow-up, there was no action on that, we create what Bob Proctor calls the knowing and doing gap, meaning you know some stuff, but you're not doing anything with the information that you know, and that creates a gap, and that gap is the source of a lot of frustration. I mean, think about it. How many people do you know that are super smart, but they're not really taking their knowledge and applying it across the board in their life? So here's what I want you to do, okay? Ready? Let's go. I want you to get either a piece of paper or maybe a 3x5 card, something that you can write things down on. And I want you to write down your excuses. You know, that story that you've been telling yourself to keep you where you are now about not being good enough, smart enough, whatever it might be. And just evaluate your life in your current circumstances and situations. And then ask yourself two questions. Number one, where am I not taking 100% responsibility for my life? And then write it down. And I invite you to see if you can come up with 7 areas. 7. Yeah, I know it's a lot, but trust me, if you do this work, it'll pay off. And then the second thing I invite you to do as a jumping off point to kind of take this thing and really get some traction with it is write down, if I were to take just 10% more responsibility for my life, I would, and then fill in the blank there. In those 7 areas. So 7 sentences, 7 if I were to take just 10% more responsibility for my life, I would, and then write down the action that you would take. Now, here's where it gets really good. Here's where we're going to close that knowing-doing gap. Once you've written these things down, then I want you to do a few things. Number one, whatever you write them down on, I want you to keep that. Don't just write them down and then leave the paper and then forget about it forever. Because that's what happens sometimes, right? We get all jazzed up, charged up. Oh, Rick got me all motivated. I feel great today. And then I wrote it down. Yeah, I did my work now, man. And then you come back tomorrow and you say, yeah, but I did it. Nothing changed. That's not the way it works. You have to do this on a consistent basis. So write it down, either on a piece of paper, maybe a 3x5 card. Put it someplace where you can see it. I want you to be able to see it in the morning, and then I want you to be able to see it again in the evening. And in a different video, we'll go deeper into the neuroscience piece of why you need to do it in this way. But for now, just understand that repetition is the key. That paradigm that we talked about before, the strongest neural circuits in that paradigm were formed based on you hearing, seeing, experiencing, etc., things multiple times. That becomes the strongest neural circuits, the strongest part of the paradigm. Well, it's the same way that that was formed, we can form new neural circuits. So just in the morning, review it. Again in the evening, review it. And when you review it in the evening, something really magical happens. It gives your subconscious mind something to work on through the night while you're sleeping. So while you're sleeping, your mind will still be working. So here's what I want. Morning, night, and then I want you to start taking massive action on those things that you identified. Remember the sentence stems? If I were to just take 10% more responsibility in my life, I could blank. Whatever that blank is, start doing that. So it's critically important for your success that you do this consistently. You know, write it on a piece of paper, 3x5 card, whatever, it doesn't matter. But what is important, in fact, critically important, is that you do this on a consistent basis. And what you'll find as we continue moving forward is that when you do this, this will start to form these new neural circuits in your mind. And that will become the new paradigm. Complete this. Start taking this exercise. Start taking this action. Because taking 100% responsibility for your life lays the foundation for everything else that we're going to learn in this video series. So my friends, here we go. I'm Rick Petrie, your ultimate success coach. We're on this journey together. I am super excited. I'm thrilled. I'm so happy that you've chosen to join me. I know this video might seem like it's a little bit long. The other videos probably won't be this long, but we're laying the foundation here. This is the critical piece for everything else, all the other work that we're going to do. I appreciate you. I know that we're kindred spirits. I know that you're working. I know that you want more. That's why you're here. That's why you've made it to this point in this video. So I appreciate you. I thank you. Go do this work and remember this. Rick Petrie, your ultimate success coach, and impossible is what? Impossible is nothing. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much. And you can find more about me at www.rickpetriespeaks.com. I love you all very much. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.